Hey everybody, it's Nicholas Karen. I'm the treasurer for the Asian American Mental Health Alliance, and this is our weekly podcast. And I'm with our guest speaker today, Kai. Kai, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. So my name is Kai. I'm a junior. I'm studying mechanical engineering, and yeah, I went to the first PBM, and it was really interesting. Just the goals of the club. I think it's really important during this semester and obviously future semesters. But yeah, I feel like mental health right now is a big thing that we should be taking care of. So yeah, I'm glad to be on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear this today. So for this week's topic, we're gonna be talking about anxiety, because I feel like a lot of people have been just pretty anxious, especially with coronavirus going around. I kind of feel like I feel everybody else when I think like we came back, a lot of us came back to campus, and it's really hard to get involved in new clubs because Gobblerfest and a lot of other organizations have been moved totally online, or all the social events slash general body meetings have been moved to virtual, so you don't have that same kind of connectivity going on with most people. So it's pretty difficult to kind of make those connections, especially in the fall if you're a freshman. So we definitely understand that it's kind of difficult, but we have definitely kind of been, and me as well, have been trying to find ways to cope with going through these experiences. So I guess for me, it's just pretty difficult to kind of find out, um, still kind of find like my new place every single year, because I try to join new clubs and I try to join new things. But I've noticed that the best way for me is kind of just like kind of accepting the situation as it is. Like I know everything on is online, which kind of isn't what most of us expect, but we still have to make the best of what we can do on our virtual meetings. And then if we do have kind of in-person events, we're still going out there and making the best to make those connections, because I do think is like the best experience trying to go, like, if you go to most events with a mask on, or if you do have some kind of virtual event, you still go to those events and make up for it, even though it's not the ideal situation, that we can all kind of just like still meet people your freshman year and still have like, go through this experience together, and realize that like you're not the only one going through these experiences. There's other people who are suffering the same thing too. And they kind of just also want to like socialize, but we can't exactly do that right now. So we're just doing the best we can.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
how,
So oh wait, sorry, go ahead.
you go ahead, Kai.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask, like, are you part of any clubs that are trying to like meet, like either like virtually or like in person right now?
Well, right now I'm part of VT Gymnastics, which is an interesting kind of club. So like we still have practices, but we do have to do abide by social distancing, and we can't have any on-campus practices. So gymnastics actually practices at the nearby gymnastics studio in Christiansburg, I believe. So we go to a gym called Techniques, and then we still have like practice 2 times a week. It's still kind of hard for me to go because I have a lot of schoolwork, but I
Mhm.
still try to make it out when I can, and just like go out there and make sure I can kind of forget about school and kind of forget about the virus for a second. We still have to abide by social guidelines. We all wear masks, and then like, we try not to come in contact, and then, disinfect here and there. But yeah, I've been going along with trying to do other things other than school, because it is kind of tough when you get so warped up in your head with school, with I don't know, school and everything like that.
Yeah. Are you part of any like social clubs?
So right now I'm still part of the Vietnamese Student Association, but just recently there's a new club called the Japanese Student Association, or Nikkei Student Union. So I joined that club, and so far I've been having a lot of virtual meetings, just like speaking Japanese, learning about Japanese culture, and also professional development as well. So it's been pretty relieving to know that I can still like try to get that like those social club get the social experience over Zoom, even though it's pretty difficult right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about also doing some service clubs to make sure I can still go out and volunteer, so I can still have that same sense of community. But I don't know. I'm holding on. It's difficult, but it's going. We're going with it.
Yeah. Yeah. What? So how many years have you been at Tech now?
So right now I'm a current junior. This is my second year at Tech. Last year I transferred as a transfer to Virginia Tech, and I ended up picking up like an extra major. I'm a finance and business information technology major, and I kind of decided a little bit late to switch into business information technology. So I'm doing an extra year next year at Tech. So I'm graduating in the class of 2022. So my second year at Tech. My first year was kind of difficult, trying to find a lot of clubs back in the fall of 2019, and I did find some clubs, but with coronavirus that happened back in the spring semester, everything was cut short, and now starting to do everything again. it's okay, but things could have been better. But it's where I'm just rolling with the punches right now and going with the flow.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like you've really only had like one full semester of like actual college then, right?
Yeah, no, I think like I have a little bit more than some of the freshmen here now, but
Hmm.
yeah, no, I've only had like one full semester of college, but hopefully
Yeah.
everything goes back to normal soon. But if not, I'm just kind of just going. We're gonna see how this all thing rolls out.
Yeah. So, I mean, like with being here for, well, I guess it's like your second year now. Have you found like a club or like a group of friends that like you can like identify well with?
I'm still kind of looking. I feel like a lot of people think I guess you have to be part of one club and community, and that's the whole thing. But for me, it's kind of like I definitely think you can be part of multiple communities at the same time and
Yeah.
still maintain a sense of identity in all those as long as you're yourself an individual. Because I think a lot of people try to join an organization and they try to think that that organization is their identity. When in reality, I think you should be yourself as your own person, and your own person is a member of multiple clubs, and that forms your identity. So last year I joined the Vietnamese Student Association. I loved it. It was great. But now I'm looking for like more of a social aspect. I kind of want to grow in like a club that's in sports because I was an athlete in high school, but I still want to continue that same kind of athletic community like in college, and also join a volunteer club because I was in Boy Scouts, and also still have like I went to a Japanese church growing up, so I wanted also like a Japanese culture association so I can do those as well. And so far it's going pretty well. I'm joining all those clubs, and like it is kind of hard to maintain the balance between social activities and school, but I am keeping like a firm grip on my academics and making sure those come first, and then doing the social thing on the side. And it is helping me kind of like accept that, oh, that I don't have to kind of stick to one organization or be committed to one place. I can join multiple organizations and it's okay. So that's how I'm pretty much going through right now.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's you brought up a good point about just like finding your identity by like being part of like different clubs because yeah, like I feel like it's the best way to like grow, just meeting a bunch of different people, seeing where you belong, seeing where you don't belong. Um, and yeah, like I don't know, like for me, like I was part of VSA actually, too, like freshman year.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and like I made like a good amount of friends. Everyone that I met there was really nice. But yeah, I just didn't really felt like I belonged. um, so I didn't join back my sophomore year, but yeah, it's definitely tough. I think like for me, in high school, I was used to just like being part of like one friend group. I'm still really close with like my friend group from high school. And like I guess I expected that same thing when I entered college, but it was definitely hard to find that. Yeah, but I think just going around and trying to figure out, I guess, like where you belong is really important. But yeah, like for you, do you feel like you like being in like one like tight knit group, or do you feel um like spreading yourself out among like different friend groups?
I definitely think it's more important that you focus on having a kind of more tight knit group that's with you for your mutual interest and feel how care who you are.
Mhm.
I feel like you should have a tight knit group that kind of feels like you can kind of like express both your faults and your strengths in front of them, and they're people you're gonna love you or want you as friends regardless of how you feel. But I definitely think it is kind of important as well to kind of expand out. So I feel like you should join an organization that kind of like, your freshman, sophomore year that, you feel kind of tight knit with, or you feel kind of like you can set a foundation. And then after that, you can join other clubs and kind of build upon that foundation. Because I think a lot of people don't have like, their big identity in college and they're trying to find their community within a college community, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think the best way is going about it, like, you focus on one, like, during Gobbler Fest, all these club fests, just sign up for a bunch of clubs and then, go to the interest meetings or see which ones interest you and don't interest you. And you might end up dropping like half of them, for example. You can sign up for like 20 clubs and drop half of them. And then you can, go down from like 5 to 10 or something. And then truly join the ones that kind of have like the ones that have like a bigger commitment, like a sport or like a fraternity or some kind of like professional organization. And then you have your social ones, like you might be part of like, the Vietnamese Student Association, or you might be part of like, the Asian like a mental health clubs, like this club here, the Mental Health Alliance. And then, those don't have like a as big commitment compared to other organizations, but you can still be part of multiple clubs, in my opinion. and you can just like do what you have to do, but and still like have a good foundation. But I definitely think it's important that like having a close knit group is good for the beginning, but after that you can kind of, after you've set your roots down, you can kind of branch out a bit into new clubs.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, I agree. But like that first, like finding your like tight knit group is much easier said than done. Especially here at Tech, since there's just so many students. Like it's just like you'll meet like a different, like a completely different type of person like every day. So I feel like it's really hard to like find that group. So I think it's really important, like when you're like freshman or like you're transferring in, to like it's like not beat yourself up too much about it if you can't find that group immediately, just because yeah, like there's, like you're a unique person yourself, but I mean there's also a ton of other unique people, and it's really hard to find that group. But as long as you like keep, like stay social, and like keep your options open, then like you'll eventually find out.
No, that's a good point. I never thought about that, but that's a great point. Yeah, I know it's definitely difficult to find your place in college, but I think if you just keep persisting and then you be real with yourself and kind of you like if you think something's cool, I know it's kind of hard because you don't know what you want exactly yet, but I
Mhm.
definitely focus on all the interests or things you want to try. Like if you have an interest in something, definitely join that or sign up for that club and then see go to the first interest meeting and then follow through and see what's the best course of like if you like this club and you want to stay in it. If not, you don't have any interest in it, kind of drop those. And then I would say definitely try to set your foundation, like focusing on school and focusing on that club that you really want to be a part of. And then if you just make sure you have good grades and you kind of like go to the teacher for help and you work out with your professors and kind of like community, like you can kind of help people in your academics and help you, and then that club can help you. It it is definitely hard work and it's hard to fit in, but I definitely think that's the best way in order to like set your foundation in college because it is hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
easier
definitely.
to,
It's like I feel like one thing that's like really difficult to learn is just like what you actually enjoy. Like it seems like it's pretty intuitive, just like I like playing this sport, I'm interested in this hobby. So I'll do those things, but I feel like sometimes when you get caught up in college, like you're thinking about tests, there's so many social things. There's a lot of stress. Like you kind of just forget about like what you actually enjoy doing, and you kind of just like blend in with what other people like doing. I feel like when you get caught up in like those like big clubs, or if you're really not thinking about it, it can be easy for you to just kind of like yeah, just like what other people like doing and then kind of forget about yourself. So I think it's really important, because it's all part of like a learning process. But yeah, just like really finding out like where you find your peace. Like, if you really like playing soccer, but like your friends don't like playing soccer, then you might need to find other friends, or just find a place to play soccer. But yeah, I think that was a big like learning experience for me in college.
that's good. Yeah. I never thought about it that way. You definitely have to follow through your best interest and then realize that when you're branching out, you kind of feel like maybe you have to belong to a certain group, but in
Mhm.
reality, you can be part of multiple groups at once. So it's important that you follow your own interests, and maybe with one friend group that, for example, that friend group that played soccer or that doesn't like to play soccer, you might just do other things with. But then with your friend group plays soccer, you can just go play soccer with them and meet a whole bunch of new friends. But it definitely is important that like you realize you can be part of multiple different groups at the same time, and at the end of the day, like people might see, they might think they try to label you as one thing, but that's based on their perception of what they see as you. They might not
Mhm.
see you doing other activities. But you have to realize then your heart and then who you are as a person, that you are your own person. For example, like I'll be like, oh, I'm Nick Karen, and Nick Karen is part of like the Vietnamese Student Association, and he's part of the gymnastics club, and he's someone who volunteers, who's a finance and BIT major. So you can realize that you can do all those things simultaneously. You don't have to be put into one box.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's really important. Just like, yeah, just your individuality. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to talk about, I guess like your experience with COVID, and I guess like how your anxiety has like changed during that?
Definitely my anxiety's gone way up. I'm usually someone who I go try to go to the gym 3 to 5 times per week because it just
Mhm.
helps me keep me grounded. Because the way I kind of work is I try to go the hardest I can in school, and the hardest I can in my physical fitness to make sure I can kind of just like stabilize myself out after I feel really stressed out. And I'll be honest, like this semester has been really difficult trying to go to the McComas gym with all the new restrictions and having to book your workout times in advance and
Yeah.
just like make sure you're also buying my social distancing. And it's something I, I wish I couldn't do, but I still have to do it anyway. So pretty much every single time, like I just make sure I try to schedule in, every 2 days in advance. I try to go on the McComas app and make sure I schedule my gym appointment in 2 days in advance. That way I can go in and just like make sure after I've like done all my studying for the day, at least 30 minutes to an hour per day, I can just go in the gym and just really just focus on myself. So I realize the gym is a really good, I think, outlet for if you're feeling really stressed out, because regardless if you do poorly or very well, like you feel like you do poorly in the gym, you do really excellent, you're always going to challenge yourself and find a way to kind of like raise your blood pressure and just like, be able to have an outlet for, dealing with stress and dealing with some anxiety and possibly depression, other things that are going on with your life. So it really helps you kind of stabilize and normalize and go back to your like your homeostatic level um, and your mood. So I think it's a really good alternative. So that's how I work. Like I kind of try to set the foundation. Kind of think of like college is like building a skyscraper in a way. It's kind of like we're building a house. It's like you have to set the foundation with the concrete. And if the concrete is cracked, you have to start over and it's hard to build upon it again. But if you have a good foundation, you can always keep building upon it. It doesn't matter what's going to happen because you'll stay strong. So I think it definitely is important for me to like, I always focus on school and focus on going to the gym. That sets my foundation because then regardless of whatever happens, I can still start over clean. So I'll have a good GPA and have a good job and I'll feel physically fit and I'll feel like I have the tenacity and like the good mental health to be able to go out there and keep hitting it harder and keep going from there. So I definitely think that coming in, it's kind of like I make sure I go to the gym and do that. And then after that, I can build upon it, build upon it brick by brick or like, build upon it like level by level by just like joining new clubs and then having fun, like, join new clubs that are kind of like allow me to try new things and go out there and do what I like to do. And it works out in the end. That's why I think I've told the people the exact same advice. And I think that's what has benefited them the most as well. Just like doing school, the gym, and then do things you love to do. I don't know, it sounds simple and it is easier said than done, but I definitely think it is beneficial in the long run if you be persistent and consistent in doing those things.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree. But like, what do you do on days when you don't have time to go to the gym?
For me, it's kind of I don't have time to go to the gym. I'll be honest, like even though I can't, like for me, it's kind of like if I go to the gym at least 3 to 5 times per week, I feel like on those days if I miss maybe going to the gym one day, it's okay as long as I just remember to myself. I usually when something like really bad happens, I try not to make any emotionally rash decisions. I try to like calm myself down for a second and think, you know, I breathe for a second, I count to 10, and then I make sure I can like, think with a clear head and clear thought when going to new problems and not let the problems overwhelm me and then make sure I can focus on one task at a time. So let's make sure like, I make sure I hit one task at a time if I have a homework and try not to let it overwhelm me and do it piece by piece. Because I realize that when things overwhelm me, it kind of just feels like a brick wall or like I feel like it's just feel like everything's on top of me and the weights of the world's upon my shoulders. So I have to realize, hey, things like Rome wasn't built in a day. So I had to like take it one step at a time and just go from there.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think like just exercise in general, like if you even if you don't like going to the gym, yeah, just getting like some form of like physical exercise. Cause like I think like the easiest thing you can do is just like going out on a run. And I know a lot of people like hate running, but it's like I think it's just once you make it a habit, it becomes a lot easier because when you start running for the first time, it's like you don't really like it. It's like your knees hurt, you get tired really quickly, get sweaty. But it's just when it becomes a habit, like that's when it doesn't become something that you like that feels like a chore. It feels like something that like it's just part of your routine, and like your day will feel off if you don't do it. But yeah, like there's a ton of studies out there that show that like just physical exercise of some sort every day has a ton of positive benefits towards your mental health and your physical health too. So I think it's important, like especially right now, because like um, you kind of have to find like other ways to exercise, because you're not always going to be able to go to the gym. Like if you miss your appointment, you're going to have to find something else. But yeah, I feel like once you make it into a habit, like that's when it's um yeah, it's like much easier to go about it. But yeah, how long have you been going to the gym for, Nick?
For me, it's like this many started when I was in community college last year because I had transferred from Northern Virginia Community College in Northern Virginia to Virginia Tech. And at that
Yeah,
time, I think I remember I was mostly just focusing on school, just commuting back and forth. And it would get pretty monotonous after a while, just doing classes and going to and forth and back in school.
yeah,
So for me, the gym was like something that kept me and my mind going a little bit crazy, or making sure I can stay in a safe state of mind and be consistent every single day, even though, I might get burned out from studying. I can look for to going to the gym every single day. So I
hmm,
remember I'd make sure like I go to the gym and I would make sure I look up some kind of workout plan. And if I couldn't do some workout plan, go to the gym that day, I'd make sure, I think a really good way you said running is going for a walk every day. Cause some
yeah,
people do have bad knees. So like, I think a walk is definitely like, really beneficial for like, if you can't feel like you can't do activity, I think everyone can at least try to go for a walk. It
yeah,
definitely helps you clear your head and just walk out and just be able to breathe, go outside and look at the trees and be outside in nature. Definitely helps you relax and kind of uh, just put everything into perspective that I think, everything's okay. Everything's not, I guess a big deal as it seems it is. And then you can like come to a frame of mind and be like, okay, I can handle this. I can do this. But definitely like when I was like, I've been going to the gym for like probably a year, maybe like 2 years now consistently. And it's
yeah,
definitely been a significant improvement. Like I've definitely seen how my physical fitness has improved as a byproduct of like just making sure I can handle my mental health and my mental levels, So I think it's a really good outlet to make sure that you can just like handle both like you can get physically fit and you can also handle your mental thing at the same time. So you're doing something productive while also de-stressing yourself without having to worry about anything and worry on like these big problems and deadlines and projects. So I think it's a really good one.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, especially with the walk, like even if you are planning to like, exercise that day, if you're feeling stressed out or like anxious or anything, like a walk does wonders. Like like it may seem like something really simple, but last year we had like walking to classes, but we don't have that now. So it can be easy to just be stuck at home all day and like not leave the house like before it gets dark. But I think it's really important if you're gonna like if you're gonna do like one form of exercise, like at least going on a walk when the sun's out. Like, yeah, it helps clear your head. But other than like exercise, would have been like some like methods for you to like cope with your anxiety like during COVID.
One of them actually is like I've gotten pretty anxiety like when I get cooped up in my room because like my personality is I'm a very extroverted person. So I love talking to people. I love going out there. I love being part of clubs as my outlet to kind of distract me from academics. So
Yeah.
I guess one of the things I've really found helpful is like, okay, since I have a meal plan, I'll just take the bus to go to campus. I'll get my meal and then I'll just like get a to-go box and then I'll always just go like sit by the pylons and just look at the drill field or can I just be outside or make sure sometimes I'll kind of just want to go study with my laptop outside of Turner Hall or something like that, or somewhere on campus that has a designated study area with Wi-Fi. That
Mhm.
way I can kind of just like be outside and be able to see people and notice that like, I'm not the only person who feels like I have to be isolated all the time. I can kind of go out there and just be outside and be able to like see people and everything. So that's what's beneficial to me, just kind of like be able to go to campus and then have that feeling like, oh yeah, I'm going to class. Oh yeah, like, college is how it is, but everyone's
Yeah.
wearing masks. I kind of try to make the best and look at that silver lining of like, the gray cloud. um, yeah, I think that's the best. That's one of the best ways. I've just going to campus and making sure I see people. Obviously with, proper social distancing, of course. But yeah, just making sure I'm going outside and then it feels like you're almost at like, a fully operating college campus, even though we
Yeah.
don't have restrictions, but it's just nice to be able to go to campus and just like, appreciate the beauty of Southwest Virginia and the Virginia Tech. That's definitely one thing I found really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I didn't even think about that. I've never done that before, but I might try it now.
I think it's a
Um,
really, I think it's a really good one. It's just that it's kind of the whole tie with going for a walk thing. It's like taking a walk and then also with with the view and then realizing, okay, It's not so bad that I think it is. You still get that experience of like, being your first, especially if you're a freshman. I think for the new freshmen who are kind of isolated in their dorms who don't know about campus that much, definitely do that. That's one of the things I definitely like. Kind of just like if you can just take a walk and walk around campus, go get some on food, like do some takeout at like Turner or go to D2 or something, and just if you can eat in the drill field, eat in the drill field. If not, like eat on the pylons or something, and you can kind of just watch the sunset over the drill field or something like that. Take a walk around campus. It's a nice place, and I think you should appreciate it while we can.
Yeah, definitely. That and also the weather, like it's gonna start getting a lot colder. So yeah, we don't have too much time until like it's just you go outside and you like regret that decision because just like the wind hits your face and it's just too cold to do anything.
No, I
But
definitely remember that. I definitely remember like last year I went to Cascades, and Cascades, like definitely one weekend we went, the water was like super ice cold, and after that the water was a bit warmer. But then as it starts to dip into October, people stop going hiking in Cascades because they don't want to get into the super cold water, really ice cold. But it's, I don't know, it is what it is.
yeah, that's
Definitely
true.
appreciate the moments while you can, because yeah, I definitely notice like every single fall it starts to get changed, and like the leaves start to change colors, and you start to realize like after a while, when we get into like winter time, it's when it's like there's a high probability it can probably snow, so you're definitely going to be cooped up inside. So definitely enjoy the fall while you have it now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, so like you said that you're really extroverted, but like do you think that's like a lot of like the source of your anxiety, like with COVID, just like I guess the restrictions that you can have on like or the restrictions on like how often you can like talk to people?
Oh, 100%, that is 100% true. No, definitely, like for me it's just kind of like I need to make sure I can remind myself that I can still talk to people. I think saw a couple online tips that are talking like, oh, if you want to talk to someone, like FaceTime your friends instead of hanging out with them in person,
Mm,
because you still got that same social exchange between people, but then you're not actually putting yourself at risk to get coronavirus, which I think is a really good way. And also just making sure that you can still do all activities you still like to do. Like even though I guess I still can't do all the same activities, but I can still get involved and just socialize with people and do those clubs. I think it's a good way, but we're just going with the flow.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I know like a few of my friends, like they're extroverts too, and yeah, it definitely hit them hard, just the lack of social interactions. But yeah, like you said, FaceTime is really good. Just like with our phones, like we have like more power than ever than we used to. Like people had to like send like snail mail, and like now you can just like video call people. But yeah, definitely take advantage of that. It's really good. But like for me, I'd say I'm more like probably introverted than I am extroverted. So I think like like the lack of social interactions hasn't hit me like as hard. Um, but I mean, I definitely do still want to see people, but I guess I think for introverts it might not be as hard. But that doesn't mean that we can just like forget about our extroverted friends who are going through a tough time. So I think we all just got to work together for that.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Especially during exam time now, I've noticed that a lot of the tests have like just last week I had my first midterm,
Yeah.
and it was pretty stressful just ramping up the first midterm. And I know like the first midterm is always the hardest because taking the first step into like getting yourself accustomed in that class to study. But it definitely just sets like after you hit that first exam, it gets a lot easier because you know how to anticipate the next test and the next test after that. So I definitely think that it's important that most people remember that when you're studying kind of remember like, hey, I gotta study for this first test, but I need to kind of like remember that it's okay to take a break because you don't want to burn yourself out, or you want to make sure that you have the time to kind of like recuperate and do your own need. So I kind of recommend that every time you're studying for a test, you kind of like start as soon as you can to study for that test as early as possible. And then don't kind of overload yourself unnecessarily, like spread it out into small increments. You study a little bit here, a little bit there, and you get it done in small chunks rather than like grouping it all together. So I've definitely noticed like when I procrastinate on study for exams, that's when I get the most anxiety. And then that's when I end up like not doing so hot in exams because I end up cramming rather than actually absorbing the information. That way it kind of sinks in for later. I think this is the best way, honestly. It's like you put your priorities first, especially exams, and you just kind of break it into chunks. That way you can just do it at your own pace and let you handle it. and you can still do your all exam scores and then be able to like go out and talk to your friends or go do what you want to do without having to worry too much about tests. Because I definitely think that the hardest times for me, it'll be like, oh, well, I have this test going on. And then it's like, I have to start studying for it. And then my roommate will ask me, when do you have it? Tomorrow. I'm like, when did you get it? Like 2 months ago. And I'm like, have you studied for it? Like, no. So definitely not procrastinating is a huge factor and
Yeah,
making sure like you don't get that anxiety, because then you can also just like make sure you have plenty of time to go for help from your peers or your TAs or your professors. That way you can just work out problems easier and you don't have to worry about the last minute, being able, because you have to realize, I don't know, a lot of these like test problems, like for me it's like I can think I can do it myself, but if sometimes I need help, if I wait too long to the last minute I can't have the opportunity. But if I start early, there's definitely 100% chance I can get help from someone if I need it. It is difficult, but it is doable.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a completely different way of like studying, like going from like high school to college. And yeah, I feel like your freshman year, it's like you spend like the entire year kind of just like learning how to even study. It's like you weren't really taught it in high school. But yeah, like starting early is definitely a big one. I still don't even do that. But yeah, I probably should. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, no, most people I've met, they said they can put it off to the last minute, but in my opinion, it's kind of like, why would you put it off to the last minute if you can just do it now? Because I've noticed that definitely when you do things last minute, it's like you're causing yourself unnecessary stress for no reason. And there's definitely a more deeper way, like a more, I don't know, emphatic way. If I completed it earlier, I could have a lot more time to manage my time properly. Like I definitely think if you start earlier, definitely helps with your time organization skills. You definitely able to lay out everything in a more organized manner so you can follow through with it. Even if you aren't like a systematic person like me, you can just, if you just start studying earlier, it just helps you get to the point and get to the knowledge quicker. That you can feel more content and be like, oh yeah, I finished all my homework. Like I can just go do whatever I want. I can go like, go hang out with my friends, go to like exercise, go to like other activities, and you can just work out everything a lot easier.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, I think you brought up really good points. And if you're, yeah, if you're like new to college, definitely listen to that and like take it to heart because it'll make your life a lot easier. But yeah, like I wanted to know more, I guess, about the club. So I guess like what made you want to join and become an officer?
For me, the best thing to join this club and become an officer is sadly last year, one of my friends who happened to be Vietnamese American committed suicide in October. So I was really kind of moved and I was kind of upset that um, nobody knew, or I didn't know that he was kind of depressed or suicidal at the time. Because I
Yeah.
remember he came down for a dance workshop and I was like, hey man, I don't know how to dance, but I'll do it with you. And I am not going to be very good, but I'm gonna come out and I'll try my best. And he was like, yeah, dude, let's do it. So he happened to be in a bad mood at the time. And I remember I was talking to him and I was like, oh, well, don't worry, man, you'll get through it. If you need anything, come and ask me, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think like 2 or 3 weeks later, that's when I found out the news that he had taken his own life. And I was just very kind of sad at the moment. But I remember um, thinking that, hey, I should probably find a way to kind of, give back and think of a way to kind of just like, oh yeah, go through this and be able to like contribute and give back and prevent things and like this happening and kind of make it more acceptable for Asian Americans to feel more comfortable talking about their mental problems and kind of destigmatize that we have to kind of take upon the world upon our shoulders and we can talk to the people and work this out. So I remember when our current president Yuli, she was looking for officers. I was like, oh, I'll sign up. I've had a personal experience with this, and I definitely want to help contribute to helping out the organization. So definitely, like I remember when I signed up, like I definitely every time like I think of doing this podcast, I always think like it's gonna be beneficial to someone somewhere because someone will hear this and then they'll know someone's listening. So that's definitely why I keep doing this, and I'm happy I became an officer to help uh, people to sort with their mental health illnesses.
Yeah, dang. Yeah, I had no idea about your friend, and I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Um, but
it's okay.
yeah, I mean that must have been really tough. Just um, I don't know, just like I guess you like feel so powerless. It's like after the fact, you can't really do much about it. But I like that it's you're doing something that like I guess like you really believe in. And yeah, I definitely think college is really stressful, and but it should never be stressful to the point where like you think the only way out is like taking your own life. And I definitely think like within the Asian community, just with like a lot of our parents and like a lot of the ways that we grow up, it can sort of be easy to put off mental health. And um, I guess it works for the most part. Like if you're in high school, and you don't have too many obligations, but you get here, like you have a problem with school, like you have a problem with friends, and it all just kind of piles on. So I definitely think that like this club has um, a, a really big task with like dealing with that. But yeah, no, it's good to hear.
Yeah. No, I'm glad I'm helping make an impact. Even if it's on one person or two people and I might not see it, I know that it's helping someone somewhere. So it's good that we have it. And also I think it's really good to just like have these podcasts because you're able to kind of just hear other people talk about their problems and their issues and what they're going through and realize that, hey, I'm not the only one still going through this. And it's just nice that we kind of this creates a comforting atmosphere for people to express their issues and everything they're going through in a judgment-free zone to be able to find out themselves like, oh, what I can do and kind of come to their own realization of how they can solve their own problems, which I think is the most effective. Because I think some people just feel like when they start thinking, they get too much in their head, they can't think out those problems. So I think it's helpful that we have outlets like this.
Yeah, I think I mean yeah, just speaking from like an outside perspective, I think it'd be really good if this club, like you said, was like an open space. If like people could, join the club, and just like find someone that they can like connect with, and then talk about either what they're going through, or just like someone to talk to, because it can be hard to find someone that really wants to listen. But if we just help each other out, then I feel like that'll create a really nice community of just people like looking out for each other, because I think, yeah, we really need that right now. Um, but yeah, what are you guys planning to do in the future?
Right now, we're still to be determined due to the coronavirus and having events, but we still have our monthly meetings and our presentations, and also just going through like with our general body meetings. We do have our presentations via Zoom, and we are talking about like we have information talking about, oh yeah, how are good ways we can get through talking about mental health and also cope with what's going on with the virus, and then eventually just like make sure we're continuing to like do what we can do to talk about mental health, and then eventually one day we can all meet up again when like coronavirus is like gone and we can all like go back to normal again. So we're all kind of just going through the flow, but most of our right now we have our podcast and we have our virtual events that we're going with.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think like all like the tips, for like mental health can be really helpful, like exercise, eat well, all that stuff. But I feel like the most beneficial thing you can do like for your mental health is just like finding someone that like you can connect with, and then like sort of vent to, and then talk about. Because I feel like for me, like I guess like with my journey through mental health, it's really been like my close friends that I've been able to like open up to, and like, yeah, I feel like opening up is kind of like a muscle that you have to train, because it's really not easy. It's much easier said than done. Like just if you're going through something, just talk about it. But it's really hard to like open up your heart and then really like say what you're going through.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way. And like a muscle you have to train to kind of work up to uh it to benefit you in a way. Okay, that's a good way of
Yeah.
putting it. Well, thank you for coming on to this week's podcast, Cato. I really appreciate Kai, sorry, and
You're good.
contributing your thoughts to the podcast. Um, yeah, and I think it's great that we are able to talk about anxiety today. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in to this week's podcast, and we hope to see you again soon.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Nick. It was a pleasure to be on.